This is Meet the Owner, where business stories come to life with your host, Steven Dryden-Hall. Let's go, people.
Welcome to Boom 7, Meet the Owner. Today we've got Peter Taylor from Breakers Basketball Club, which I didn't really know much about, so I thought I'd drop the guy a little LinkedIn, see if he's up for coming on the podcast, and he said yes, so here he is. Welcome, Peter.
Welcome, Steve. Thanks very much for the invite. It was lovely to be here.
You're welcome. For anyone that doesn't know what the basketball business is, can you just tell the audience what it is and when you started it, please?
Sure. So I've been involved with basketball in this country for probably about 50 years, far too many years to remember. And been in Milton Keynes since the early 80s. Saw the Lions come and go. And then really probably 2017, I was supposed to be retired.
How many people we met that were retired and then came back?
Yeah. So I decided that I would get back into basketball and just do a little bit of basketball coaching. So I went down to Shenley Leisure Centre,
yes,
met with some people down there, which are called the Shenley Scorpions. And
was this after Splashdown Dolphin swimming pool was there?
Way after.
Oh, do you remember that? That was a cool swimming pool, wasn't it? Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but not sorry.
Yeah, now you'll get me talking about lack of facilities in Milton Keynes,
yes,
and the things that a city like us should really have.
Correct.
But yeah, so I got involved with Shenley Scorpions doing a little bit of basketball coaching. They were a typical sports club run by mum and dad, got a couple of kids. Didn't really know too much about what they were doing, but they've been going for about 10 years. But along I came and they suddenly went, well, you seem to know what you're talking about from a business side and also a basketball side. Do you fancy running it? So I spoke with my wife, Alison, and I said, this is an opportunity to kind of do things that perhaps the Lions could have done, and it never happened. And I did say to her, I said, look, if we do this... Warning. If we do this, you know me, I'm going to go... Full on.
Yeah.
And so we started with 20 kids in a little gym. And here we are. And that was the back end of 2017. We obviously... We grew the club, but obviously COVID had a bad effect, huge effect on everybody. But we were out of the traps. Sorry.
It's okay. Pete's just new sign walking past. I think this guy is well connected. It's 1-0 to you, and we're going to play that game. So I'm going to try and get someone as well.
Both her boys, she's Lithuanian. Both her boys play on the team.
Oh, there you go. A little bit of promo.
A little bit of promo. And so we really, after COVID, which is only 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So in 4 short years, we've now become the second largest community basketball club in the country.
Amazing. Behind who?
Newcastle Eagles.
Which is a massive population compared to Milton Keynes.
Yes, right? And Newcastle have about 2,500 people involved in their setup. We have about 1,000 kids, but also we have our schools program, which probably reaches another 500 to 700 kids as well. But there is a big difference between us and Newcastle. And the big difference is that we control everything from the ground floor up.
Okay.
Newcastle don't. Newcastle are a professional basketball club, so they basically run their program, and the fun and the income they generate from that funds their professional basketball club.
Okay,
yeah. We're very different. The money that we generate all goes back into the club, and we try to provide the best coaching we can, and that is very evident in, as I said, arguably. We are the number one junior program in the country in just 4 years.
Which is amazing, and congratulations on that. Did you say earlier you coached the English team?
Back in the day, I was a coach, obviously, and I coached in Luton, Northampton, Hemel Hempstead, Leicester, which is what you do when you're a basketball coach.
Yes.
And I had the privilege of coaching with the England junior women's team and the England senior women's team.
Yes.
For a number of years. So I've always had a big affinity to the coaching side, and I've always believed that good coaching produces great kids.
Were you a player?
Yes, I was a player as well.
Any good?
I was pretty decent, and actually, the interesting thing is, I lived in Luton most of my life.
Okay.
So I played for what was actually a very famous basketball club called Vauxhall Motors.
Yes.
And I played my very first National League game here in Milton Keynes in 1976.
76. So I was -3.
Yeah, there you go. 1976 at the original Bletchley Leisure Centre.
No way. So you had the snaky, the snaky corridor leading up to the pyramid.
Yeah.
Oh, what a place!
And we played in front of about 800 fans.
Yeah.
And that at that time, Milton Keynes had their own club.
Yeah.
It was called the Embassy All Stars.
Okay, that sounds good.
That's a bit of history.
That's like the Globetrotters.
Yeah, a bit of history. So that's where I played my first ever game. And
okay. Milton Keynes has changed a lot since you came to that game.
Yes.
Do you sometimes look and go, wow, what has actually happened? There are gaps, and you will talk about the council later, but there are gaps, but it's incredible how we've grown, isn't it?
Of course it is. And so, look, I've got as well as a basketball background, I've got a business background. So when I had the opportunity to start the basketball club, I had some advantages.
Yeah.
The first advantage I had in Milton Keynes was that there is no competition. Cool. There is no basketball in Milton Keynes.
No.
At all. And there hasn't been for ever. The second advantage I had was that we are a growing city.
Yes, the population.
With a population. So I was never, ever going to struggle to find kids.
Yes.
What I was going to struggle with was facilities.
Facilities, yes.
And coaches. So my philosophy was really simple. There's tons of kids out there. I'm going to get all these kids. I'm going to give them all a basketball.
Yes.
I'm going to give them the best coaches I can. I'm going to pour water on top of it. And then I'm just going to sit back and watch it grow.
Like gremlins.
Yeah.
Explode.
And that's exactly what's happened.
Amazing. So let's get into that in a moment. But, and I've never said that, Chris, have I? Let's get into it. That's like a podcast thing, isn't it? Let's get into it. I don't want to say that again. Try not to let me say that. Let's talk about you. Where were you born? What were you like at school? And what did you want to be when you were older?
Okay. So, well, I know the accent doesn't give it away, but I'm actually Welsh. I was born in Newport.
Oh, my wife's Welsh.
Okay, so
never mind.
Yeah, I also have a passion for Welsh rugby, and
Yes.
so get to Cardiff as often as I can.
Yeah.
But I moved up to Luton when I was about 5 years old. I was a dead average kid at school,
Yeah.
and just was in sport.
With an accent?
Yeah.
Did you get trouble?
No,
not really.
Not really. I wasn't a bad kid, but I just.
No, because of your accent. Because you were too little, weren't you?
Oh yeah, no, I was too little.
You'd lost it by the time you got to secondary.
I would lost it by the time I come there. Yeah,
safe.
But I was an average kid at school. Didn't like school like every other kid, but sports was my thing.
Yeah.
I was a pretty good footballer, pretty good rugby player, pretty good athlete.
Yeah.
So I was kind of good at everything.
So all-rounder, pretty good.
All-rounder. What did I want to be when I grew up? No, didn't really have any super expectations.
Well, you've done well to leave Wales because we know that I'm Scottish, by the way, so I'm allowed to say this. Not a lot of them leave; they stay where they are.
Yeah. Well, my dad actually is from Tottenham, so
okay.
I'm a Tottenham supporter for my sins.
Oh, dude.
And indeed, it's sad, isn't it? And then my mum was Welsh.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that all happened.
Okay.
But really, funny enough, the sports thing was really interesting because, ironically, I played in all the sports teams, and then when I was at my high school, I went to go to try out for the basketball team.
Yeah.
And I never got in.
That's exclusive.
And
you never got in, and you now run a successful basketball business.
And that really annoyed me.
Yeah, I bet it. I can tell your character. Yeah. You've got your bit between your teeth now. Yeah.
So that really annoyed me. So I kind of made it my business to then become a basketball player and got involved in that. And I think one of the things I learned early on was one of the rules is to be what I call a big fish in a small pond.
Okay.
So it's much easier. I played semi-professional football.
Yeah.
The furthest I ever went from Luton, I think, was St Albans.
Yes.
Whereas with basketball, because it's a much smaller sport, I've been into Europe, I've been to the States.
Yeah.
I've played all over the country. So there's a lot more. There's a lot more to be achieved.
Yeah, if you move around.
Yeah, I think.
The question. So this is from a non-sort of basketball type guy. I was going to wear my basketball boots today, just for fun, and I think they're a size too small, which is why I don't wear them. But I used to go down where the Lions were when they were in one of the big warehouses, just for fitness. I was terrible, but I was like, this is quite cool to hang around with these people, and the stuff they were doing was amazing. So, in terms of why do you think you never made it? Because you weren't. I'm going to do a little list here. You weren't fit enough. You were terrible at shooting. You were lazy. Your stamina might not have been there. What was, if you could round that up, and you were the coach coaching you? Do you know why you didn't make it then that first time?
No, I mean I was I was a very good player, but I wasn't that good. And actually, funny enough, in the 80s, the standard of basketball in this country was phenomenal.
Was it?
Yeah, at the time, there was a TV deal. There was about a £20 million TV deal with ITV2 or somebody.
Okay. Big one.
Which meant that we actually had ex-NBA players.
Oh, wow. So they were coming over.
Yeah, playing in this country. So the standard was absolutely phenomenal. So I played at a very good standard, but I was at the bottom end of that standard.
Okay.
And also by that time, I was getting a bit older. And life changes.
Yeah, of course.
You obviously meet your partner.
You must have got a girlfriend.
Yeah, you got a girlfriend, and she could tell you some stories about basketball and the things she had to put up with me, and really, I think there was no future in basketball.
Fine.
There's no financial security. If you want to be a basketball player, you are a journeyman.
Yeah.
You have to go and follow where you can get paid, and that,
of course,
that wasn't something I wanted to do.
So this was all happening, and you've said to me, I think business development or sales is kind of what you went into. So what were your first jobs when you were starting out?
Yeah, I think actually I was always fascinated by purchasing.
Oh,
buying.
Right. Yes.
So
my wife is as well.
Yeah. So
Amazon.
That's kind of where I did. I did my apprenticeship in Luton, and then I got involved in being part of the purchasing department. And again, good grounding.
Yeah.
You learn to take care of your money.
Yes.
You learn to realise that if you can save £1 on the price of something, that's actually £1.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas if you sell something and you make £1, you're only making 10p.
Yes.
So I learned some good lessons. But what I also learned was that I thought most of the salespeople that I met were pretty awful.
Okay.
And they all drove company cars. And I
did you want a company car?
I fancied a company car.
Oh yes. What was the car? I don't want to say back then, but I am going to say back in the olden days, Peter. What was the car you were like? I want that car. That's the salesman's car.
Well, I think pretty much every salesman drove a Ford Mondeo.
Did they? A Mondeo?
If I remember rightly. Yeah. If I remember rightly.
Yeah. And you got one?
Yeah. So
Amazing,
I ended up going on to the sales side and trying different things. But I think what was the really interesting thing was, obviously, this was alongside me playing basketball at a recreational and quite a high level. And there's no doubt that what happened with basketball was that I became a very, very good player, and I became quite a big person in a small pond.
Okay.
And so I became popular. I was asked to play for lots of different teams.
So what was your ego like back then?
Well, certainly when I was 17, 18, I had an ego.
Buzzing?
Because I was playing basketball 7 days a week.
And were you healthy with it? Because like athletics and sport now, back in the day, they were eating whatever they wanted. But were you conscious of that, or were you just
no? I mean, I was still just a young kid. I will say my mother's a fantastic cook.
Yeah,
and so we always ate very healthily in our family.
Okay, that's
but
good.
it was more about the basketball. What the basketball did was develop my self-confidence.
Okay,
as a person. Good. Yeah, and that, I think, is the single biggest factor, along with the fact I've always believed that in your journey, hopefully you'll be lucky enough to meet one or two people that will have kind of a major influence on your life.
Huge. So your wife's Alison, right?
Yes.
I did some research. Chris, I'm getting quite good at this podcast thing. We'll get to that, because they say that saying, is it, behind every successful man or person, there's a successful partner. Okay, so we'll talk about that later. But who were your role models when you were coming through then? So was there someone driving you, or were you self-driven at the start?
I think on the sports side, I was very self-driven.
Yeah.
I think the other thing was that my father was self-employed, ran his own small business. And I think that was probably the first time that I saw somebody that was really running a small business and having and dealing with the kind of all the issues of a small business.
What was he selling?
My father used to work.
He's laughing.
Originally he used to work for a company called Radio Rentals.
Okay, yeah.
So that was televisions.
Yeah,
televisions.
You used to rent your TV, right?
Yeah, rent.
We used to do it in Fishmead.
Rent a set.
Yeah, so we would put £1 in the back of the TV. You beat the 80% of the film, it'd run out.
Yeah.
That's how poor we were.
Yeah.
But we probably bought about 20 tellies.
Yeah.
So like what? And then my friend went to go and work for them. I'm like, you're a thief. You're like worse than all the other guys. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
yeah,
I know
yeah,
that
yeah.
I know radio rentals.
But
yeah.
and then he went on his own, and basically he provided services to councils and various other things. So he was installing huge systems in blocks of flats, all that sort of stuff. But irrespective of what the product is, the process of running a small business is exactly the same. Exactly the same. Yeah. So I saw all the good things and the bad things that kind of went with that, and I think that actually shaped a lot of my life.
And did you see it? Because I'm like that with my kids now, and I'm banging on about business, and they're probably going, "Shut up, Dad! I want to watch this. I'm doing that." But do you think he was consciously teaching you bits or talking about stuff so that you would pick it up, or was he just getting on with his day?
No, he was just getting on with his day.
He was. So you were just picking it up.
Yeah, I think it was much more the things that I saw.
Yeah.
The relationship between my mum and dad, and when things were going well, when things weren't going well, chasing people,
tension,
chasing to get money in. But I think it also taught me one or two things, which was really interesting, and they're things I've carried with me all through my life, which is. If you're going to run a small business, and the basketball club is a small business,
yes,
it doesn't, that doesn't mean it has to make a profit, because it doesn't make a profit. It's not intended to, but it is a business and has to be run like a business. But I think, for anybody that runs a small business, they'll understand what I say. And I think you have two choices when you start a business. You either think, right, I'm going to grow it, and then at some point I'll sell it, or it's going to become a lifestyle business.
Well, where are you at?
Lifestyle.
Yeah. So enjoy what you love.
Yeah.
Whilst growing it, and helping the kids as well. I mean, I know it sounds a bit, but giving them that confidence. You've just seen a mum walk past. Like, if you just had a job, most people don't like the people they work with. So let's be honest. But actually, the story behind the two kids that play at your team, right?
Yeah.
There's loads of those stories and feel-good factors, right?
Actually, funny enough, that family have been with us almost since day one.
Wow. Yeah. It's like you set that up.
Yeah. I mean, literally.
You set it up, didn't you?
Yeah, literally, they were with us, I think, back in 2017.
Amazing.
Yeah. Lithuanian family, fantastic crowd. But, and there is a lot to be said with the basketball club. So I think, and I'm quite happy to say it on air, that we started the basketball club and we grew it up to COVID. And at that time, we were probably about 400 kids.
Okay.
And then COVID came, and we managed to keep it afloat through COVID. And then we hit the ground running, and we've grown. But one of the things that became very obvious to me, and I had to wrestle with it, and Alison and I discussed it, was that we started a basketball club.
Yeah.
It very soon became obvious we were now a social enterprise.
Yeah.
With a lot more responsibility to kids, a lot more than just basketball.
Yeah.
There's a fair amount of responsibility goes with looking after 1,000 kids, but the spin-off, the positive effects are just phenomenal. And we see it, we have everything from 4 to 18 years old.
Yeah.
We have girls, we have boys, we have everything from somebody with 2 left feet up to the fact we have a guy playing in the NBA.
How does a 4-year-old get the ball up so high on the basketball courts? That's impossible.
They play on very small baskets.
Oh right, that does explain it. And also the tall guy, it's a bit low, isn't it? They don't want to go down there.
Yeah.
So that's amazing, right? So I did a bit of research again. I'm on fire today. This morning, 5 a.m. Always leave it late. I did that at school, crammed it in at the end.
Yeah.
Top 5 sports in the UK. Do you know what they are?
Top 5 sports.
Yeah, top 5.
Football, number 1.
Yep.
And in no particular order, I would say cricket.
Correct.
Rugby.
Correct. Oh, you should do a quiz. We should do a quiz.
And
Horizon quiz.
I'm going to say netball.
It's got athletics.
Oh, athletics would be.
So it hasn't got basketball, which is kind of the point I was getting. I think it's top 10.
Yeah.
Okay. When I was at school, there was that trend of the NFL came over and everyone got all the NFL clothes. And then there's that trend, the Michael Jordan trend.
Yeah, sure.
How strong is that now, right? My daughter's wearing, she's 9, all her mates wearing Nike bottoms.
Yeah.
So if you look back at the story, Michael Jordan was a big part of that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Getting that there. What's the goals for the basketball now? Because if I'm honest, I never really heard of your business, and I'm from Milton Keynes. I've been here 44 years, and I hadn't really heard. I knew the MK Lions, I know Vince, I know Lolly Marlborough, who used to work there, and Debbie. Do you know Debbie as well?
Yeah, I know Debbie as well.
So I know those guys, and a restaurant group I used to work with, which is now MK Buffet Village. Big shout out, by the way. 7 cuisines. world food, 120 dishes, right? I don't know if you're allowed to do it, but we have. It's not radio.
Potential future sponsor
it's
of the MK
podcast. Well, we're
Breakers.
going to try and set that up because we've got a big audience. You've got a big audience. We've got food. You need feeding. It could be a winner. So we're going to try and do some business there too.
Sure.
So I've lost my track, but point being is...
basketball's not a mainstream sport.
It's not a mainstream sport. So what are the goals this year? Because on your website or on your socials, it said that you've got a big year this year. So are you doing something different?
No. So one of the things about if you're going to run a business is about your mission statement. And a mission statement is
that's very businesslike.
It is very businesslike.
Yes.
But it's really, I think it's fundamentally important that you never forget what you set out to do.
Yeah.
So when we started the basketball club, I had two things that were really important to me, and if you look, you'll see it everywhere on our. So the first one is that we wanted to be able to offer as many boys and girls, local boys and girls, the opportunity to play basketball, either at a recreational level. Or then at an elite level.
So to lead them into the little gems that do really well.
Yep.
And you've got the connections, right?
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Just before that, though, I did look, and I don't know how far I should do this, but you used to own Shooting Stars Limited, didn't you? So it's another business.
Yeah. So Shooting Stars was basically something that I looked at to get into schools.
Okay.
That was actually before...
Breakers.
Excuse me. That was kind of before the Breakers. It was something I was looking at. And actually, I've amalgamated that into the Breakers.
Which is what normally happens in business, which is why I've mentioned it. Sometimes things don't work, and I'm not saying it didn't work, but sometimes you close it down. But the information and the knowledge and the contacts and the network you gain feed into your next thing. And I feel like it's coming good now. As you've had the COVID thing.
We are very successful. We are, without doubt, literally the most talked about basketball program in the country.
Yeah.
Everywhere we go now, people congratulate us on the success. They know who we are. That success, as you said, you'd not heard of us. And
I haven't.
That was part of the problem. So locally, I had 500, 600, 700 kids, and one of the things that we're very proud of is that. Let me take you through it because so the way it works is that we have community basketball, which means that anybody can turn up, anybody can play. First session's always free, and the reason it's free is because of a company called Brioche Pasquier.
Oh, Ryan Peters. Big shout out to Ryan.
Right, yeah.
So Ryan's from Fishermead, by the way. So he dresses better than what he probably did in Fishermead. I'm from there, allowed to say that. Sound guy.
Yeah.
My brother knows him. He's what guy?
Yeah, no, they've been absolutely fantastic. So they help us in a number of ways, like the community level, and it allows for anybody that wants to come and join the club. Their first session's free, and that's kind of all funded through Brioche Pasquier.
Well, they fund that session.
Yeah, through a community partnership.
That's amazing.
With them. Yeah, no, it's absolutely phenomenal. So the idea is that the kids can come along. We then. And we want them to enjoy themselves. Yeah. The most important thing is that they enjoy themselves.
Of course.
The second thing is that we teach them basic basketball skills. Some of those kids will then go on to our elite program, and I'll talk about our elite program. But what's really, really important is that little Johnny with two left feet. If he comes to our basketball program and he's there on a regular basis, he will improve. And when he goes back to school with his mates, he will suddenly be the best basketball player there. And as a result of that, he'll be more popular. As a result of that, he'll get picked by the school teacher for the school team. And as a result of that, and most importantly, his self-confidence will grow. Yeah, his self-esteem will grow. Now, that's not something I can measure, but I know that it happens every single day. And that is an incredible, tangible benefit.
Does that give you a really nice feeling? Because that gives me a buzz.
Sure. Yeah. There's no doubt that we are having a huge effect on a lot of kids. We're taking 1,000 kids off the street every week.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, but as we've developed, we've done more and more things. So these kids play in community centres. So they play at Shirley Brook End, they play at Hazley, they play at Stantonbury, Radcliffe, St Paul's, Bletchley Leisure Centre, Oak Grove School.
What about Woughton, Sir Frank Markham?
We don't. No, that's not one of the schools we use at the moment.
That's where I went. It burnt down once. It's next to Fishermead, so it probably says a lot. I won't mention names. I think I know who. I was about to say his name. That's not good. There was rumours. Do you want more schools?
Yes. I mean, so the way it works then, I think I just want to just explain how we do things.
Please.
So I've got these 600, 700, 800 kids running around, and then what we do every week, we have what we call a central venue league, a community basketball league, which runs out of Bletchley Leisure Centre.
Yes.
And so all these kids play in their age groups within their teams, and then what they do, if they want more basketball and they want to play more competitively, they come to Bletchley Leisure Centre and they play in a competitive league, inter-club.
Amazing.
We are literally the only club in the country that does that. The benefit is that 300 kids get to play competitive basketball without ever having to leave Milton Keynes.
Great.
And that is phenomenal. People don't see that. I do.
Yeah.
Because if anybody's involved in sport, football, rugby, athletics, whatever it is, and you're a parent, you know only too well what it's like when you're having to organise transport to go all over the country
It's
to
hard
events
work.
and things. It's hard work.
It's hard work.
And
costly as well.
yeah, and we deal with a demographic which is challenging.
Yeah.
A lot of single parents, a lot of parents without cars. So the ability to be able to provide competitive basketball in Milton Keynes is super. So that's the kind of the starting point. But from there, we go on to our elite programs. So we have 12 teams. We have 4 girls teams, 8 boys teams.
Yep.
Under 12, under 14, under 16, under 18. And in 4 years, compared to probably 60, 70 years of some of these other clubs, last season our under 16 girls became national champions.
Incredible.
Our under 14 girls were runners up. This year, our under 16 boys reached their first national final. Last year, I think we had 8 boys and girls represent England. We had 2 girls go on to represent Great Britain. We've had kids go to the States. The list just goes on.
So, okay. That can't just be about you. So there must be that top level. So you've got coaches that work with you. Is there a lot of work goes into the coaches that work with you, that you coach them, or you inspire them and you teach them all the things you've been doing for many years? Is that kind of why it's happening? Because you're one person.
Yeah. So why it's happening is, this is where I think where my business background comes in. So when I started the club, I said to you earlier, never going to have a problem with kids. There's kids. The demand is ridiculous.
Yeah.
We can't keep up with the demand. I made a decision that I was going to kind of come away from the standard sports club practice of volunteer parents and volunteer dads. And
It just falls over, doesn't it?
They
want to do it.
It's not sustainable, and you're never going to become a big club doing it. So I made a decision to try and find, to employ coaches. So we have 6 full-time coaches, which costs me a fortune.
I bet it does.
But I believe but I think I'm justified in what we've done, because you only have to look at our size of our program and the quality of our program.
What's your interview process? I'm a coach. I'm not a coach. I'm a coach. I come to see you. I heard you're doing good things. I'm into basketball. I've got loads of different sports. What is your process when you take someone on? Like, what is it? 1 interview, 2? Is it a challenge? Is it?
No.
What do you do? How do you get it right?
Right. So first of all, as I said earlier, there was no basketball in Milton Keynes.
No.
So there are no basketball. There are no basketball coaches in Milton Keynes.
No.
We have about 115 schools in Milton Keynes, and when we first started, there was 1 basketball guy in the whole of Milton Keynes.
Wow.
Who was actually Nigel Lloyd, that played for the MK Lions. I don't know if you remember Nigel.
I do know the name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and he was it. So, you could say, well, is that a blessing or a curse? I see that as
I'm the only one.
I go back to what I said earlier. No competition.
Yes.
So basketball generally is a young man's sport, because it's...
Young person, I think we
Sorry,
should say.
young
Yeah,
person.
of
young
course.
person. And I have female coaches. And it is because it's evenings and weekends predominantly.
Yeah.
And so, you need people with energy. And there are basketball programs around the country.
Yeah.
Oakland's and St Albans is a big program. Worcester is a big program. Loughborough's obviously a big program.
Loughborough's big for sport. Yeah.
So there are basketball players coming out of finishing their degrees and things like that. So we literally did put adverts out. But I think if I can go back a step, and the reason I want to go back a step is because as we grew the club, and I'd already said that we're going to have all these kids, give them all the basketball, give them the best coaches we can, which originally was me, doing 6-7 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it would grow. What I realised was that once we got to a level where we were going to put teams into the National League, I couldn't do it on my own. So there was myself, Alison, my wife, running all the finances. So I knew that I was going to have to make a decision to go and find somebody to bring on board as a general manager.
Yeah, of course.
And that was my first big investment. And as luck would have it, I was aware of a guy called Josh Merrington. Josh is from Milton Keynes, lives in Great Linford, where I used to live.
Yeah.
Played football for Great Linford, which I used to coach. Great Linford.
Okay.
I used to coach Josh, a footballer. Our family had a sabbatical in America for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's a different story, but we went off to America for 10 years. During that time, Josh discovered a passion for basketball in Milton Keynes through the Lions, funny enough, and went on to become very successful. He ran the Newcastle Eagles Academy. He also ran the Leicester Riders Academy. They're the two biggest guys in the country. Went on to become a Great Britain coach, and was coaching in Portugal.
Big in Portugal,
yeah, big in
basketball.
Portugal. Yeah.
Yes.
And then COVID hit, so he had to come home. But he came home at Milton Keynes, and so our paths crossed. So I knew Josh, and I'd actually been chasing Josh for probably about a year. So these things sometimes
you were hunting him down.
Sometimes these things are meant to happen.
Of course.
I'm a great believer in fate. So I managed to convince Josh to come and join us, and so Josh really then took over the whole kind of mantle. So the way it works today is that Josh is pretty much responsible for all the day-to-day operations, and I'm much more interested in the strategic development of where we're going as a club.
You're kind of like you're developing the business, aren't you?
Yes.
The systems are in there, the management are in there, the coach is in there.
Yeah.
Little tweak, a little refinement.
Yeah.
Go and get some sponsors.
Yeah.
Build it. Okay.
And the difference is that Josh is in his early 30s. And so and one of the things is that Josh is very, very well connected in the basketball world.
Okay.
There's pretty much nobody that Josh hasn't got on speed dial. And I kind of knew that.
What level are we talking? You're saying pretty much.
No. I mean, Josh.
Give me two names. Everyone would know. Joe Public.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily know the
basketball world, right?
In the basketball world, but I mean, he would be able to contact the owners of National League clubs, the coaches of National League clubs.
Amazing. He's
fully aware. Obviously, of his time in Portugal, he's aware of European basketball. He knows his stuff. And so he has been absolutely instrumental in sort of taking the club on.
It's quite interesting because you coached him, so a lot of his coaching from football would have been passed into him because of the...
No, I'm not going to take any credit for that.
Is it zero?
I think he was... he and my younger son both played on the same football team,
yeah.
and I had to be the coach. And I don't think it was anything there.
So you don't think you've taught many lessons?
His basketball expertise has come as a result of his journey through the basketball world and his passion.
Yeah.
And he is, I think he's probably the best general manager in the country.
Big shout out to Josh. That's quite emotional. I quite like that. That's amazing. So what's I want to play basketball now. So I'm going to get my shoes out later.
There you go.
And we've got a net in our garden, which is it's probably a little bit rusty, but I'm going to get it out and get my little boy 4, Hugo, to come along, and my other 2 to come along. So just to see what that is like anyway. So as a business, what's the goals this year? Do you set goals? Do you have a vision board? Do you have some goals? Do you talk to your wife just about basketball every day you go home? What do you do to relax as well? So what's the goals this year for the Breakers?
Okay, so 2024 was a phenomenal year. We haven't even touched on the men's team yet. So obviously we're a junior basketball club. Yeah. So that's 4 to 18. So what do you do when the kids are 18? Well, a lot of the kids obviously go off to university.
Yeah.
So, but we wanted to. I wanted a men's team and a women's team here in Milton Keynes, which obviously completes the platform. Yes. Everything from a 4-year-old boy or girl starting to eventually somebody going to the NBA.
Yes.
So we started. So we decided 3 seasons ago to start a men's team, and this was just one of the most bizarre things that ever happened.
We like bizarre.
Yeah, because...
it's 2-0 to Peter.
No.
He's just waved at someone else. Hang on.
That's my wife.
That's your wife? That was set up. Alison. Hi, Alison. She's waving. She don't look too stressed, so I think it's a good lifestyle. It's good.
Yeah. So the men's team came along, and again, Josh knew most of these people, and I knew some of them, and we are talking. This was a kind of a throwback from the Lions. So obviously, Milton Keynes had produced quite a few good basketball players, but they all had to go somewhere else.
Correct.
To play basketball. So I brought some of these guys with Josh, and I sat them down and convinced them that we were starting something big in Milton Keynes.
You're the next best thing.
Well, the second part of the mission statement, we talked about the mission statement, and we said the first part was to offer kids the opportunity. The second part of the mission statement was to make Milton Keynes a major basketball destination in the UK.
Yes.
And if you think about it, that follows on from the first part.
Yes.
As the kids grow and develop, we now put ourselves on the map. I don't think any of us ever imagined what would happen with the men's team. We managed to bring back probably 4 or 5 guys, convinced them all that the program was what they should be part of and they should buy into it.
So are these guys getting paid?
At the time, when they first started with us, no.
So you've got to convince them to come back to Milton Keynes if they liked it or not pay them. You've sold them the dream that you're going to win something together. Did you get a lot of yeses and a lot of no's initially?
Yes, I think so. When I say we didn't pay them, so the way we worked, we didn't have money to pay them. Yeah. So what I did, but we're very good at what we do, and we sell out pretty much every game at Bletchley.
How many people?
About 300 people at a
good.
game, and it's packed out. Great atmosphere. So if anybody wants to come down to a game at Bletchley, go check the website.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll be on the Horizon Radio website as well after today.
Yeah. Okay.
Cheers, Chris.
And so obviously we charge the gates. We run raffles.
How much are tickets roughly?
Anywhere between £5 and £10.
Bargain.
Yeah. And we run raffles, we run birthday parties, we run merchandising. So what I did is, because of my sales background, I guess, and my buying background, I did a deal with the guys where basically I paid them a win bonus and a small percentage of the ticket money.
Make them hungry.
So
they should do that at Spurs, because I don't think they've got a good deal. I think what's gone wrong at Spurs is they're paid too much and they're not really making it happen. Sorry, that's my dig at Spurs fans and my mates who support Spurs. Yeah. So actually the incentive was work as a team, win some games, get paid.
Yeah. So in that first season, we entered. You have to start in Division 3 in the amateur game in England, or the amateur game, if you want to call it. It's Division 3, Division 2, Division 1. So we won Division 1 without losing a game.
In the first season? That sounds mad.
We also then went on to reach the semi-finals of the National Cup in our first ever year.
That's incredible.
The equivalent of the kind of the Ep8 Cup, really.
Yeah.
Which means that we beat a few Premier teams along the way. We eventually, in fact, we lost in the semi-final to Hemel, who are a long-standing basketball powerhouse, and we lost to them by 5 points in a semi-final. That year, Hemel won Division 1, never lost a game, and we were the club that ran them the closest.
So they were fire. Everything was working.
Yeah. So we then went on to Division 2. We got promoted to Division 2, and this is kind of where it took off. So in Division 2, we won Division 2.
In your second season?
In our second season. We also won the playoffs. So there's a North Division and a South Division. So we also won our playoffs. But the highlight was the National Cup. So we became the first ever team from Division 2 to win the National Cup. And that literally meant beating 5 kind of Premier League teams along the way.
Did you believe, did you know or think that you were going to do that yourself? So when you set out to go into the leagues, were you like, we're going to win that and we're going to win that, we're going to go? Did you believe that?
No.
So this is not about you giving them the juice to go, come on guys.
No.
Not at all.
No. So
wow.
Go back to the mission statement. The mission statement was to make Milton Keynes a basketball destination. I saw that coming from our kids becoming older, completing the cycle, and in 10 years' time, I can be a patient person. Strategically, if I think that something is worth going for.
And Alison, who just walked past, probably thinks you're not a patient person at home, by the way. Yeah,
correct.
Good.
But what I would say is that I said earlier, all I wanted was somewhere for our 18-year-old boys to be able to play basketball. So the whole idea of that was I'd be quite happy for them to play in Division 3.
Yeah.
Wouldn't really mind if they finished bottom.
Yeah, let's just go.
They needed somewhere to play, so that we were giving the kids, a pathway,
yes.
a progression to pathway. As it turned out, we just ended up with this phenomenal team. And the great thing about that team was they literally were all from Milton Keynes.
Wow.
We had the team that played in the final last year. We had one guy from Northampton, one guy from Bedford. Everybody else was from Milton Keynes.
That's amazing.
We had 4 boys from our basketball academy. We haven't even spoken about basketball academies yet. We had 4 boys from our basketball academy. So in that final, literally everybody was from Milton Keynes.
Do you know, I love that, because I was born in Scotland in 1979, and in 1980 we come to Milton Keynes in Fishmead, and I always say to people, name me 3 people that are famous from Milton Keynes, and there's not a lot. So, you know, we could probably class Greg Rutherford.
Greg Rutherford's the one you think
Gold
about.
medalist, legend, drive passes roundabout, amazing.
Yeah.
Who else have we got? Can you name any? But I think that's going to change, even when you're talking about your guys. Like, it's going to change.
Well, in fairness, I know England isn't a great... I said earlier, you know, basketball's not a mainstream sport in the UK. We kind of follow the NBA a little bit more. But if you talk to the basketball people, they'll tell you that a kid called Jeremy Sohan, who is now playing in the NBA for the San Antonio Spurs, and he's from Milton Keynes.
No, he's not.
He's from Milton Keynes.
I am Googling that later. Have a little look. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how well have they done? So how far... You've won the 2nd division now?
So we won the 2nd division, we won the National Cup, we won the playoffs, and then we got promoted to Division 1.
Yes.
Few challenges along the way when we come this season, because and the reason our talisman player, we have a guy called Jordan Spencer.
I've met him.
You met Jordan?
No, I've been on aqua parks on Willen Lake with him and his friend Peter,
right?
Who's friends with Lolly.
Pete Picara.
Yeah, Pete Picara.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I don't call him that. I call him Olympian Pete.
Yeah, Olympian Pete.
So you know, I just think he's cool. Yeah,
Handball.
Super guy, loads of energy. But I met him.
Yeah.
And so is he coming back?
Right. So Jordan Spencer. You know, the ultimate thing last year was Jordan became Inspiring Sportsman of the Year in Milton Keynes.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
On the award. So
Okay.
he won the award for that. As a result of his performances, along came Newcastle Eagles, the number 1 team in the
Swooped him
country, and basically swooped him up. So they were able to offer him, you know, a fair amount of money as a professional basketball player, also the opportunity to play at the very highest level, and also to play in Europe.
Okay, I mean, you get it, right?
Yeah, you can't blame him. Okay. We can't blame him. So we lost Jordan. Unfortunately, we also lost 2 players to season-ending injuries, ACLs.
Yeah, okay.
And so that really hurt us badly. Our 4 academy boys all left. 2 of them got got full scholarships in the States.
Yeah, this is good news.
Life changing.
Good news, right?
Yeah.
This is better than what you wanted.
Yeah. Life changing things for these kids. The other 2 boys both went off to other universities. I believe they'll come back. We're creating a cycle.
Yeah, of course.
Kids going off to university, 3 or 4 years later they'll come back. So 5 years from now, I'll have a supply chain of ready-made kids.
So isn't there a thing, I think it's basketball, where you can almost be their agent and you bring them through your ranks, so the breaker stuff, and that you, like Dele Alli was at MK Dons. Do you understand?
No, I know exactly where you're going. And,
if he gets sold for big money, the MK Dons, I don't know if this is true, get a little portion.
Right.
Can that happen in your world? As a business or a charity or a setup?
How long we got? So...
I've got an only answer. You're like, they should.
So in terms of football, you're absolutely right. I do quite a lot of work with the MK Dons, with the academy, with Ben Smith down there. And this is one of the things I talk about. Because in the football world, you're absolutely right. If Dele Alli, you know, comes through the academy at Milton Keynes, there is a matrix which values him if Manchester United come calling or Manchester City comes calling, and Milton Keynes will get that amount of money. So football clubs now are putting money into their academies because they can see that as an income generator. basketball is still very undeveloped, and actually that doesn't exist. So my point about that, and actually it's kind of a bit of a crusade I'm on, is that nobody in UK basketball got any money out of Jeremy Sohan going to the NBA and signing a multi-million-dollar contract.
So you've got to keep finding the same people, and it's just there's going to be a ceiling, isn't there? It can't get much better.
So it's something that one or two of us in the basketball world are discussing.
Yeah, you need to come together, don't you?
Well, it's kind of like, how do you protect your assets? So if you think about it, what I'm actually doing is I'm spending £200,000 a year on coaches to produce the best kids in the country, to then go off somewhere and we don't get a penny. And it's not about profit, it's about being able to reinvest back into the club to provide more coaches, to provide more basketball, to make Milton Keynes an even bigger proposition. So it is something, so I'm looking at various angles at the moment, but it is incredibly difficult. And part of the reason is that if a kid wants to go to the States, you cannot stop a child going to a university for education purposes. So there can be no money exchanging hands for that. Okay. If he then goes on to a professional career, that's kind of a different argument. And the landscape in the States has changed dramatically with image rights and things like that. I'm not sure if that is anything you guys are aware of.
Well, and AI now, like you can't even use their photo for anything.
Yeah, but it's not that. It's the college scene has changed dramatically, where it is now a multi-million-dollar business.
Huge, isn't it? It's huge,
for kids.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's definitely an area that we need to improve on, and it's very challenging because our NGB, which is Basketball England, don't seem to be on the same page as us.
Okay, so all good. I feel like you need to come back in a year's time, because I think there's going to be big moves that will change the landscape in MK in particular as well.
In fairness, what we're doing every year is just building the same program. What I really want to build, what I really want to see is our community program getting bigger, more venues. Yeah. I'd like to expand out to places like Toaster, Olney, Marston Mortain, maybe Dunstable. Take us up towards 1,500 kids. We've still got 60 odd schools. We're in about 40 schools now.
Okay, I'm gonna bring this one in there. The council, Milton Keynes. You didn't want to mention them, or you did, I can't remember now, but what can Milton Keynes Council do to improve the lives of kids through your basketball business, and where's your challenges? I
think, so I'd really like to suggest that we need to extend it past, it's not just basketball. I'm incredibly proud of Milton Keynes.
So am I.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, I'm incredibly proud of the fact that we're now a city, and I think it's very well deserved. Having said all that, I can't but be embarrassed by the complete lack of facilities for all sports clubs. Yes. Not just basketball, but for netball, for volleyball, for handball, for korfball,
paddle.
Every sport under the sun. The lack of facilities is not only embarrassing, but it's also causing all of us, all sports clubs, a problem, because the facilities are now becoming so expensive because it's basic supply and demand. Yeah. The demand far outweighs the supply, so the price keeps going up. Now, we really look after school kids. Yeah. So, for us, when money goes up, the only way I can generate money is back through monthly membership fees. Yeah. And so there comes a point at which affordability becomes a problem. And the last 12 months, we have definitely seen that affordability issue coming to the top.
I was asked to go and see something yesterday, really strange timings, and I don't think I should mention where it is at the moment, but it was a sports hall, and my friend said, can you come and have a look at this thing? And I was like, okay, cool. He says, they've got this and this in there, the programme. No one knows about it. It's brand new. It's amazing. It's got a kitchen, it's got toilets, it's got some nice, decent car parking. You probably know where it is, because I can see your mind going for it. He says, can you help me make it busy? I was like, yeah, I can. I'm like, it's amazing. Like, it's really good. And then I was like, you could do a pop-up cinema, big loads of chimneys around it as well. And it's not being used. And it's next to another hall, which is part of the council as well, in the parish. And it's next to another one. But this is the best one. And I'm like, why is this not being used? So we're going to have a chat after, because it's a need versus both you need each other, and it's a facility that will hopefully give you another area. And what's the challenges when you go to Master Mortain Toaster? Is it facilities or is it?
So
because the audience is there, isn't it?
Yeah. So the first challenge is actually finding a facility.
Yes.
Seeing a facility. The second thing is that if we're going to run a basketball program, like every other sports club, I need to run it for the whole year.
Yeah.
So I need regular court time. And the problem that all the sports centres have got is that they're constantly in demand. So first of all, generally, it's not available.
Yeah.
The second challenge is the cost.
Who pays for the court? So can you have grants paying for some of it, or do you have to get the kids pay for it, or is it subsidised by your business? Like what's the kind
Okay, so I've been quite good at getting grants to get it off the ground.
Yeah,
I've never asked money. I've never kind of asked for 100% of the money. No. My approach generally when I've got venues like Bletchley Leisure Centre were fantastic, I have to say. When I moved to Bletchley Leisure Centre about 4 years ago, they were fantastic. I did a deal with them which was funded through some community grants, where I said, would you guys give me the court free for the first month,
like a restaurant, yeah.
75% for the second month, 50% for the third month, 25% for the fourth month, and month 5 my responsibility. And that's kind of what I did, and that worked really well. But something happened big time last year. Okay. And our glorious government
that's a whole show, isn't it?
Well, in fairness, HMRC suddenly decided that they were going to start charging VAT on the hiring of sports courts.
Shocker. So 20% straight up.
Yeah. So what that meant was, if you wanted to carry on hiring sports halls, you were going to have to pay an extra 20%. The only way round it was that you had to block book, which is fine. Yeah. That's not a problem with block booking. But you now had to pay up front.
The whole year?
No. Quarter. Well, theoretically, I think theoretically it was supposed to be the whole year, which was just impossible for anybody.
Yeah.
But in reality, what happens is, so for example, we're in January.
Yeah.
So our January invoice, we would normally pay at the end of February. But for January, I had to pay at the beginning of December. So if you think about it...
How did they announce that? Was it just out of the back of a...
Sure.
A letter? Did you get a letter?
No, we were just told about it by the various sports centres. So in terms for somebody like us who are a big club and with 1,000 kids, if you take December, January, February, I spend about £15,000 a month on court facilities. Yeah. So that's £45,000 in terms of cash flow. That and that kind of pretty much wiped out all our reserves and everything that we'd kind of put together. So it means that we're on a far less substantial footing financially.
That's crazy. So what is this year going to bring? What are you looking for? If the audience were all listening, Milton Keynes, it's 280,000 people in Milton Keynes. What would you want to tell them? What about getting your kids involved and so on? What do you
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is I'd love to see. We want to see more kids at our community program. Yeah. That's really what we want to see. So we have, as I said, 6 venues. You can go on. You can Google us. We come up number 1 on Google all the time. MK Breakers Basketball. Go on there. There's a whole choice of venues. Over the years, I've managed to get it to the stage where the venues are actually localised, almost like one in every quadrant and one in the middle, which gives 2 things. One, it means that your kid can go locally and hopefully walk or cycle or whatever. Or if you can't make a Monday night at Stantonbury, you might be able to make a Wednesday night at Oak Grove or something. Yeah, so it's flexibility. First session's free, as we said, because of courtesy of Brioche.
Yeah. Well done, Brioche.
Well done, Brioche. Well done, Mr. Peters.
Yes.
And I think come along. First session's free. See if they enjoy it. If they enjoy it, we don't have a contract. It's kind of month to month.
Yeah. What sort of cost is it? So if I told you my children's age, could you tell me? So my toddler is about to turn 6. So how much would that be a month?
So we run our under 8 program.
Yeah.
hour and a half sessions.
Yes.
So it's basically 4 hour and a half sessions. So
Yeah.
it's 6 hours in the month.
Yep.
And it comes out at £37. So it's
Not
just
bad.
over £6 an hour.
And a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Exactly the same.
So all the same.
Yeah, we keep all the sessions an hour and a half, and we charge the same fee, because obviously with 1,000 people, we need to we've got to manage that financially.
Consistency, yeah, exactly.
that's a lot of financial effort.
Well, do you know what? I didn't really know much about breakers, but I feel like I do now. And I was wondering, like, what does breakers mean? So I did find out. What does breakers mean, and why did you call it breakers?
Okay, I did wonder whether you were going to ask me the story, because
I know the answer.
Yeah, okay, because
Tell everyone.
That was one of my LinkedIn articles recently, and the response we had to it was phenomenal. So we were obviously called Shenley Scorpions,
Yes,
originally. Then when I grew it to Milton Keynes, we called ourselves Milton Keynes Scorpions, purely to kind of humour the people that were still involved in the club.
Yeah.
Once we took it over, I decided to call it Milton Keynes Basketball Club, because I just wanted to get a name out there.
Yes.
But obviously, everybody has a name. So we decided that we were going to run a competition amongst our members.
Oh, really?
To come up with a name. And but we had decided that we were not going to announce that name until our men's team started. So
Okay.
when our men's team started in 3 years ago, we were going to announce the name change and then run it all the way back through the club. But in the previous year, we started. So we ran a competition amongst the members, and all sorts of names come up, typical basketball names,
Yeah.
MK Mavericks, MK Magic, NBA
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah.
And then suddenly somebody mentioned the Code Breakers,
Code
at
Breakers.
Bletchley Park. And that was it. It was
Done.
a very obvious one, because of the, we play at Bletchley Leisure Centre, which is about a mile away. Probably the Code Breakers is the most
International. It's
most
huge, isn't it?
international
Yeah.
thing that was known. So we decided that we would call ourselves the MK Breakers. But then there is a big but.
Oh, no.
I thought it would be really interesting and kind of cool, because the whole point about the Enigma, the Colossus
Enigma,
machine and the
yes.
Enigma code and everything else was secrecy. So there's a couple of things that we did. We were designing our kits for our junior National League teams, and what we decided to do was that we changed our logo. So if you look at our logo on our website,
Yeah.
you'll see that it used to be a basketball, but actually if you look at it now, it resembles a cog that is to represent the Colossus machine at Bletchley Park.
Amazing. Gives you good energy, right?
The second thing we did was that in the kits, you have to look closely, but there's binary code in the kits.
No way. So it's like the Matrix is in your kit.
And-
Yes.
But what was interesting was we never told anybody. So we never told the kids. We never told anybody. And I just thought that was really cool,
That's
because that
really
was kind of secret. And that story has gone round. We were on YouTube, Basketball England channel the other day. That story was told.
Fantastic.
And that's gone down really, really well. And I think it also, if you're going to be part of Milton Keynes, you should be part of Milton Keynes.
Of course.
Without a doubt. And I think you should, you should represent your city with pride.
It's just great seeing Saint City, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think
City
it's very
Milton
cool.
Keynes.
I think it's very
Amazing.
cool.
Yeah.
I think it's very cool. So so that's kind of how we come up with MK Breakers. And as I said, I just want to keep on doing the same basic things. I do want us to become bigger. We still have a lot of room to become better.
Yes.
There are still things that we could do on the side. We're pretty much there now. Schools is a big area. We're running 2 programs. We're running 2 programs between now and the end of the year. We're running a program called Hoops for Health, where we're going to be going into primary schools and secondary schools.
Yeah.
Our senior players are going to go in there, and they're going to be talking about healthy eating. They're going to be talking about nutrition. They're going to be talking about activity and playing sport. That's one program. Actually, there's 3 programs. The second program we're going to be running is a program called Her World, Her Rules. And that's a basketball program aimed specifically at girls, to get more girls playing basketball. And really that's kind of the second part of the program. And then there's a third part of the program, which I'll know later today whether I've got funding from the Milton Keynes Community Foundation.
We love the foundation. So Ranjit's left.
Yeah, Ranjit's
He's
left.
at Willing Hospice, so he's going to do great things over there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, can we make this happen? Can we ring someone, Chris? What do we know?
We've put a program, and it's a pilot program, which is to run with 3 schools, and basically it's all about carry a basketball, not a knife.
Amazing, yeah. Crime.
Yeah, so and that again will be a program where we'll be going into schools with our players, talking about social behaviour, talking about not getting involved in all these areas. Yeah. It's a program that I've been involved with before up in Northampton. Yeah, and it's been very successful. I've had conversations with Matthew Barber at Thames Valley Police. At one stage, Matthew had even asked us to consider doing programs and running it around the county. But like all these things, it needs funding. Yeah, it needs funding as well. So we're running a whole bunch of programs between now and the end of term. So if anybody's listening and they want us to come into their school, all they need to do is contact us through the website, and I'll make that happen.
Fantastic. Look, I've really enjoyed meeting you. I reckon I could talk to you for a week and we would just chew the fat on so many subjects. I think you're doing a great job. Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 67
You
now.
look well as well for your age. That's amazing. I'm going to come down to a game. Yeah. Check it out. I'm sure Chris might come down too. Because he has 2 kids and he's pulling his hair out. He wants things to do all the time. So that'd be great. We'll go and have a watch as well. Yeah. And if you need anything from us, do shout. We're seeing Ryan next week anyway. We've got some projects happening from.
Well, we're always, look. I mean, we're a community club, and I'm a great believer in community partnerships. It's great that we've got all these corporate companies in Milton Keynes, but they're difficult to get to. But I would love to have, if I had 100 local sponsors that give me anywhere between £250 and £1,000, and we can reinvest it back into the clubs. We do a whole bunch of stuff like that. So again, if anybody's interested in getting involved, could be the food situation.
Yeah, we can lock the food thing down.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And we do have some local sponsors. As I say, I work with a company called the Treatment Lab, who is a physiotherapy guy, Rudy Chaplin. Yeah, big shout out to Rudy.
Yeah, well, I'm Rudy.
Believe you me, I've got players in there getting treatment all the time. Facilities management, obviously.
Carl, we know Carl.
We know Carl, and they do work there. We do work with a company called Locker Room, who are a really interesting company. Okay. They're a digital sports platform. Yes. And I'm hoping to do bigger things with them as well. Yeah, great. So we are dealing with some local companies, but could always do with some more support.
Well, let's see if we can help there. Definitely. Okay. Thank you for coming on the show.
All right. Great.
I noticed your wife's gone into Zara, so you've probably lost a few quid. Yeah, she's shopping.
Yeah, as long as she's not gone into Milk Velvet or
Mint Velvet. Yes.
or
It's a big shout out to the brands today. Thanks for coming. We'll come down to a game and lovely to meet you.
Yeah, we'll organise that straight away. Lovely. Okay, cool. Great.
Cheers, Peter.